I've been cold calling for a long time. I actually made this channel off of cold calling. If you look at my first videos, we're just straight cold calling, live recording, organic conversations. And I have been cold calling for 4 years plus before real estate and still am. I posted some videos in the past talking about what I've changed in my wholesale business. And one of my biggest changes was I am not doing outbound marketing anymore. So I'm not doing cold calling and I'm not doing texting. And it's true I'm not doing those, but it's not completely true because I'm still doing it, but I'm just doing it a little bit differently. So in this video, I'm gonna tell you exactly what I'm doing now for my outbound marketing and for cold calling and why I stopped doing it to an extent. And the main reason I stopped, and we'll get into what I'm doing, but the main reason I stopped was just strictly it being a business decision. There was no emotion behind it. There was no deep reasons. It was just a business decision. And what I mean by that is, texting got really hard last year, where my delivery rate went from 85% to 10, 15%. I'm like, what is going on? And I'm still paying the full amount every month. Or my cold calling went from an 8 to 10% contact rate to a 1 to 2% contact rate. And it was costing a lot of money, where I was paying every month for the texting and not getting as many leads. I was paying to refresh phone numbers and all these employees payroll and all these new leads because I had to get new leads every month. And I was paying for all this where we were getting tagged spam super often. And it was really hard to actually talk to sellers without getting tagged as spam or, even having people answer the phone. And at one point last year, I was spending upwards to 15 to 20K a month in marketing. And most of that marketing budget went into calling and texting, marketing and payroll. Now, I just want to preface that, don't get me wrong, there are still people doing deals in cold calling and texting. I just think they pivoted different than I did, where I pivoted to just get out. Other people pivoted to fix the mistakes and use different softwares and build their own softwares. So it's interesting to see that, but I just decided to get out, and I'll tell you what I'm doing later on. But the reason I got out was I just didn't feel like figuring it out. I just didn't feel like it. I hate dealing with the 10 DLC. If you text, you know what that is. I hate dealing with Twilio. I hate dealing with all this stuff. And this just made more sense to just get rid of everything, save on my marketing budget, and just do other things. Now, I love texting marketing. I love the concept of texting marketing. I think texting marketing could be the best marketing for finding wholesale deals and off-market deals, just because the amount of people you can talk to at once. Or let's say you're door knocking. You're talking to maybe 5 people an hour, and that's productive. Let's say you're cold calling, you're talking to maybe 20 people an hour, and that's being productive. But if you're texting, you can be talking to 1,000 people an hour, and that's normal because you can just send so many texts at once. So I love the concept of text marketing, but there's a reason that it's getting changed like it is, because people are abusing it. People are excessively doing it, and not just in the real estate industry, people in solar, even political. I get texts all the time, hey, who are you voting for in the primaries? Just all this stuff. So it's used a lot. Politicians use it, business people use it, poll surveyors use it. Texting marketing is a great way because everybody sees their texts. And even if they don't respond or even open the message, I think everybody reads their messages. At least I read all my messages. So I see what I'm getting. And I made a lot of money from texting the last 2 years. I made a lot of money. I did probably upwards of 10, 20 deals from texting in the last 2 years. And that came from just being able to just do it on scale, just being able to do it so much and, send so many messages at once and stuff like that. It was just, efficient. I think that's what it was. Now, when it comes to cold calling is still my favorite marketing channel. I love cold calling. It's I have a love-hate relationship with cold calling because cold calling sucks. If you've done it, you know what I'm talking about. It sucks. But cold calling is amazing because you can proactively talk to people that might want to sell their house, and you could take action and actually do something. Where sometimes when you're doing inbound marketing, you're man, can somebody just call me? I just want to, get a deal. What's cold calling is you could brute force your way into a deal. And I love that, especially if you have time. So I still recommend cold calling to new wholesalers, but I don't like the approach that I did with cold calling, where I think cold calling is amazing if you're a solopreneur, if you have a small team, if it's you working and you're new. I think cold calling is great, or targeted cold calling is great. But what I don't like is what I had a whole bunch of cold callers calling every single day. I would have to give them new lists every single day. I would have to refresh the phone numbers, and I did it such on scale that it got overwhelming. And maybe you could call me a bad business person, whatever, but like I'm like a lifestyle business guy too. Like I'm kind of lazy at the same time, you feel me? So like I don't want to be managing all this stuff. Like I just kind of want it to run, and cold calling does not do that. And I know you can pay companies to like outsource your cold calling. I've never tried that. I just hired everybody in-house, so maybe that's the move. But even those companies, like I've heard negative things where they would sell leads to the same person twice and stuff like that. So I just wasn't a fan of that. So my opinion, cold calling is great if you do it correctly and you treat it like entry level or targeted. But as soon as you start to scale cold calling, it gets really tough in my opinion. And that's where I kind of got burnt out over, scaling it for 3 years. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. It's March right now. It's March, April right now. I hired my first cold caller in March of 2021. So exactly 3 ish years ago, I hired my first cold caller. So I mean, I'm pretty familiar with like the process of training them, which it takes a lot to train them too. It's a lot of work to train these people. And once you train them, that doesn't mean that they're like an AI and they're like mentally trained. Like you have to keep the training going. Like it's like an ongoing thing. So that's the one thing I think cold calling is great if you kind of treat it like that. And I still think that cold calling is the best way to get your first deal. I'm a firm believer in that. If somebody asked me, I would say cold call to get your first deal. Try for dollars, cold call. I still think it's the best way. I'm not looking to get my first deal. Like I've got my first deal. So now what am I doing? Well, I am cold calling and texting, but I only cold call from this phone right here. I'm not using any dialers, and I only text from this phone right here. I'm not using any texting softwares or anything. Everything is super targeted. And the reason for that is I'm doing a lot of on market and inbound leads. So on market is like deals I see on the market that fit for like a creative financing offer or fit for like a cash offer that are kind of slept on and I see some potential with them. Or inbound leads is somebody reaching out because they see my website or an ad and they want to reach out. That's the only people that I'm cold calling, is cold calling realtors and cold calling kind of like medium leads that already reached out, and texting those people. And I have some automation set up for like the texting and the emailing when they submit a form, but I'm still doing most of it on my phone. And that's the best way that I'm finding right now. It's obviously not super scalable because it's, me doing it, but that's what I'm doing. We'll see what the pivot is in the future. I'll keep you guys updated. That's like the change, because I just really want a low overhead business where I'm still doing, ideally 2-3 deals a month, average deal, and each one is like 10, 15, I'll be happy with that. And texting is amazing if you can figure out the delivery rate. If you can get a good delivery rate, like I mentioned earlier, you can just talk to so many people on scale. Now, a lot of people do mess around with you and they'll just play around on the text messages saying they're interested and they're not, or it's like wrong numbers. But texting is amazing, for real. Great marketing platform. Now, this video is not sponsored by anybody, but I do have affiliate links, and if you want to support me, you want to support the channel, and you want to get the best texting, the best calling softwares that I used, which I know I was just saying that they're not working that well, but if you want to see what I used, I have links down below. I usually recommend Batch Dialer, which if I was calling I would still use. I think it's the best dialer. Launch Control. For texting, that's what I used. For Skiptracing, Skiptracing. So I have links down below in the description. Scroll down, you'll see them. Those also support me. They support the channel, so I appreciate that. I don't really monetize anything on this channel, so that's like really it. If you want to use what I was using, that's what I would recommend. Not sponsored, but that's what I recommend. And to kind of wrap this video up, it's super important you pivot as a business. And that kind of trends into 2 different directions, where it's like, one is pivoting as your business like kind of profits, like what's doing well profit wise. And the second trend is pivoting mental health wise. Like, what are you feeling? Like, are you miserable doing something? Then just stop. Like, I kind of felt that way at some points, or I was just like, man, I don't want to do this anymore. I just don't want to do this anymore. So it's like mental health pivoting is super important too, because you don't want to just get burnt out. Like, that's how you get burnt out, and I know people that get burnt out doing that. So it's like mental health pivoting and business pivoting. Pivot as needed. Like, don't sleep on pivoting and make changes. Do what you gotta do. If you're doing something that kind of works and you're making like decent money but you're miserable doing it, like, in my opinion, stop. Don't feel pressured in like, if I stop, what people will think about me and stuff. Like, who cares? Just stop. focus on your well-being, and there's other ways that you can get deals and make money. That's what I'm doing right now. You know, so like it's possible. I'm like literally a living example of that. Does cold calling still work? Yes. Does texting still work? Yes. You just got to figure out ways to make it work. Did I stop? Yes. Would I do it again? I am now, but you know, probably not how I used to do it, because I don't want to have business like that anymore. I don't think it's like super scalable, and it's just a lot of humans. That's my opinion. A lot of people are killing it. When I closed out, you know, kind of my cold calling and texting, I gave all my employees to other people. So like it was super important for me to make sure that all my, you know, callers and texters and, you know, whatever had new homes, like new jobs. Like I you know, some of those people I was really close with over the years. So I made sure that they all had new homes, and I follow up with the people that, you know, employ them now, and they're cold calling and texting. So clearly they're doing it. It works. You know, people are killing it doing it. So yeah, don't, you know, take this video as like, oh, a downer, like, oh, Alec, I watched this video by this guy Alec and he said he doesn't cold call because it's dead. Like, it's not. Like, don't take that as like the intention of this video. I'm just kind of telling you like why I stopped, because people are asking on a lot of my videos, and I get that comment like, can you make a video why you stopped? Like, why'd you stop? Are you still doing this? Why'd you do this? So this video kind of answers that. So I hope this helps. Check out this video that YouTube recommends. Drop a comment with your opinion, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.